The journey to transform a dream garage began in a way that felt both exciting and unexpected. The team had just arrived on site, ready to begin another routine flooring project, when everything suddenly changed. A message came through that would completely shift their plans. It was about Mat Armstrong, a well-known car enthusiast and content creator who had just purchased a new property in Miami. He needed help immediately, and not just any help. He wanted a complete transformation of his garage. The urgency in the message created a sense of excitement and pressure at the same time. Without wasting any time, the team packed their bags and prepared for an international trip. Traveling from the UK to Miami was not just about work. It was about stepping into a new environment, facing new challenges, and taking on one of the most important projects of their careers. When they finally arrived in Miami, the energy was completely different. The weather was hot, the atmosphere was lively, and the scale of the project became more real with every step. This wasn't just a simple flooring job anymore. It was about creating something special, something that would stand out. As they stepped into the garage for the first time, they realized there was a lot of work ahead. The space was messy, unfinished, and far from what anyone would call a dream garage. But that's what made it exciting. Transformations are never easy at the beginning. They require vision, effort, and teamwork. And this project had all three. From that moment on, the goal was clear. Turn this ordinary space into something extraordinary that Matt would be proud of. The journey had officially begun, and there was no turning back. Once the team settled into Miami, it was time to fully understand the scope of the project and create a clear plan. The garage was large, roughly around 1,500 square feet, which meant it would require a lot of material, effort, and careful planning. Unlike previous projects in the UK, this one had a unique requirement. Matt didn't want the usual garage floor tiles. Instead, he wanted something different, something more modern and visually impressive. That's when the idea of using epoxy resin flooring came into focus. Epoxy resin is not just a normal floor covering. It is a liquid material that becomes extremely strong and durable once it dries. It also allows for creative designs, which makes it perfect for a high-end garage transformation. However, before any design work could begin, there was a lot of preparation to be done. The existing tiles had to be removed, the floor needed to be leveled, and even a wall inside the garage had to be taken down to create more space. Planning each step carefully was very important because any mistake at this stage could affect the final result. The team worked together to measure the area, calculate the amount of resin needed, and organize the tools required for the job. There was a strong sense of teamwork as everyone focused on their roles. Some handled measurements, others prepared tools, and a few started removing parts of the garage structure. The planning stage might not look exciting from the outside, but it is one of the most important parts of any project. Without proper planning, even the best ideas can fail. In this case, the team knew that getting the basics right would make everything else easier later on. With a solid plan in place, they were ready to move forward and start the real work. The real transformation started with intense preparation work, which is often the hardest and most time-consuming part of any project. The team began by removing all the old tiles from the garage floor. This was not an easy task because the tiles were firmly attached and required a lot of effort to break and remove. Tools like chisels and grinders were used to speed up the process. But even then, it took hours of hard work. At the same time, another part of the team started working on removing a partition wall inside the garage. This wall was limiting the space, and removing it would make the garage feel bigger and more open. Breaking down a wall is not just about knocking it over. It requires careful handling to avoid damage to the surrounding structure. Dust, noise, and physical effort filled the air as the team pushed through this stage. Despite the challenges, there was a strong sense of progress. Every tile removed and every piece of wall taken down brought them closer to their goal. The Miami heat added another layer of difficulty. Working in high temperatures made the job even more exhausting, but the team stayed focused. They knew that preparation was key to achieving a perfect finish later on. As the day went on, the garage slowly started to change. The old, worn-out look was disappearing, and a cleaner, more open space was beginning to take shape. This stage might not have been the most glamorous, but it was absolutely necessary. Without proper preparation, the epoxy flooring would not stick properly, and the final result would not be as strong or smooth. By the end of this phase, the team had already made significant progress, setting the foundation for the transformation that was about to come. Just when things seemed to be moving smoothly, the project faced an unexpected problem that could have delayed everything. The company that was supposed to provide tools and assist with preparation suddenly stopped working and left the site. This created a serious issue because the team was in a different country without access to their usual equipment. Situations like this can be stressful, especially when there is a tight schedule to follow. For a moment, it felt like all progress might come to a halt. However, this is where problem-solving and teamwork became very important. Instead of giving up or panicking, the team looked for solutions. Luckily, they had connections, and one of the team members managed to contact a local expert who could help. After a short wait, a new team arrived with the necessary tools, and even offered to assist with the work. This moment showed how important it is to stay calm and think clearly during challenges. Problems are a normal part of any big project, but how you handle them makes all the difference. The delay was frustrating, but it also brought new energy into the project. With additional help, the team was able to catch up on lost time and continue the work without major setbacks. This experience also added an interesting twist to the story, making the project feel more real and relatable. Not everything goes according to plan, and that's okay. What matters is how you respond to those situations. In the end, this challenge became just another step in the journey, proving that determination and teamwork can overcome even the toughest obstacles. After overcoming the unexpected setback, the team quickly got back into full working mode, focusing on one of the most important stages of the entire project, the application of the base coat. This step is critical because it creates the foundation for everything that comes next. Without a strong and even base, the final design would not look smooth or professional. First, the team carefully inspected the floor to make sure all the grinding work had been completed properly. Grinding the floor is essential because it removes any uneven surfaces and helps the epoxy stick better. Once satisfied with the surface, they began preparing the epoxy mixture. Epoxy resin is made by combining two different liquids, which react together to form a hard and durable surface. Timing is very important here because once mixed, the material starts to harden quickly. The team worked efficiently, pouring the mixture onto the floor in sections to ensure even coverage. Using tools like squeegees and rollers, they spread the liquid across the entire surface, making sure no area was left uncovered. Special spike shoes allowed them to walk over the wet epoxy without damaging it, which made the process easier and more precise. At this stage, there was no focus on design yet. The goal was simply to create a clean, solid base layer. As the epoxy spread across the floor, the garage began to look completely different. The messy, rough surface was now turning into something smooth and glossy. The heat of Miami actually helped speed up the drying process, which worked in the team's favor. However, even with the progress, the job was far from finished. The base coat needed time to dry properly, and any imperfections would need to be fixed before moving on. This stage required patience, precision, and teamwork. It may not have been the most visually exciting part, but it was one of the most important. A strong base would ensure that the final design not only looked amazing, but also lasted for years without damage. Once the base coat had dried, the team returned to the garage to inspect the surface carefully. This is a stage where small details become very important. Even though the floor looked smooth at first glance, closer inspection revealed minor imperfections, such as small cracks, uneven patches, and tiny air bubbles. These issues might seem small, but if left untreated, they could affect the final appearance of the epoxy design. The team understood that perfection is achieved by paying attention to these details. So, they began the process of fixing every flaw they could find. Using fillers and additional materials, they carefully repaired cracks and leveled out uneven areas. This process required patience and a steady hand because rushing could make things worse instead of better. In some areas, they decided to apply an additional layer of base coat as a precaution. This extra step ensured that the surface would be completely smooth and that no imperfections would show through the final design. It also helped prevent problems like bubbles forming later on, which could ruin the look of the floor. While this might have added more time to the project, it was a necessary step to achieve a high-quality result. The team knew that skipping the stage would risk everything they had worked for so far. As they worked through the floor, the surface gradually became more refined and polished. It was now ready for the most exciting part of the project, the design phase. This stage marked a shift from heavy labor to creative work. The foundation was complete, and now it was time to bring the vision to life. The anticipation was growing, as everyone on the team knew that the next steps would define the final look of the garage. The day everyone had been waiting for finally arrived, the day the design would be applied. This was the moment where all the preparation and hard work would come together to create something visually stunning. For this project, the design choice was a marble-style finish using 3 different colors, 2 shades of gray and white. This combination was chosen to give the garage a modern and high-end look. The process of creating this design required both skill and creativity. Unlike the base coat, which was focused on coverage, the design layer was all about appearance. The team began by pouring the colored epoxy onto the floor in specific areas. Placement was very important because it would determine how the colors blended together. Once the colors were in place, they used tools like T-bars and rollers to spread and mix the epoxy, creating a flowing marble-like pattern. This process might look simple, but it requires a lot of experience to get it right. Too much mixing can ruin the pattern, while too little can make it look uneven. The team worked carefully, adjusting their movements to create the perfect balance. As the design started to take shape, the transformation became more visible. The garage floor was no longer just a surface. It was turning into a piece of art. The swirling patterns and smooth finish created a unique look that could not be achieved with traditional flooring. Everyone involved could see that the project was reaching a special moment. The design phase is often the most rewarding part because it shows the true potential of epoxy flooring. By the end of the day, the floor looked completely different from when they started. However, the process was not fully complete yet. The epoxy needed time to settle and dry, during which the colors would continue to blend slightly. The team left the garage overnight, excited to return the next day for the final reveal. The next morning brought a sense of excitement and anticipation as the team returned to the garage for the final reveal. This is always one of the most important moments in any transformation project because it is when all the hard work is finally appreciated. As they walked in, the first thing they noticed was how smooth and polished the floor looked. The colors had settled beautifully, creating a stunning marble effect that looked even better than expected. The entire space felt brighter, cleaner, and more modern. When Mat Armstrong arrived to see the result, his reaction said everything. He was genuinely impressed by the transformation, describing the floor as unreal and comparing it to artwork. Moments like these make all the effort worthwhile. Seeing the client happy is the ultimate reward for any team. The garage had gone from a messy, unfinished space to a high-end workshop that looked both stylish and functional. The smooth surface, combined with a unique design, gave the garage a professional and luxurious feel. It was clear that this was no longer just a place to park cars. It had become a centerpiece of the property. The reaction from everyone present confirmed that the project had been a success. However, even at this stage, there were still a few finishing touches left complete, such as applying a clear top coat for extra protection and durability. But visually, the transformation was already complete. The reveal marked the end of the main work and the beginning of a new chapter for the garage. Even after the successful reveal, the team knew that a few final steps were necessary to complete the project properly. One of the most important finishing touches was applying a clear top coat over the epoxy design. This layer acts as a protective shield, making the floor more resistant to scratches, stains, and daily wear. It also enhances the shine, giving the surface an even more polished and professional look. In addition to the flooring, other improvements were made to the garage, including painting the walls and ceiling and installing lighting. These changes helped bring the entire space together, creating a clean and modern environment. The addition of hexagon lights added a stylish touch, making the garage look even more impressive. As everything came together, it became clear how much the space had changed. What started as a simple flooring job had turned into a complete transformation. The combination of hard work, creativity, and teamwork resulted in a garage that exceeded expectations. For the team, this project was more than just another job. It was an opportunity to showcase their skills on an international level and prove that they could handle challenges in any environment. For Mat Armstrong, it meant having a dream garage that matched his passion for cars and content creation. The project was now complete, and the results spoke for themselves. Looking back at the entire journey, it is clear that this project was about much more than just installing a new floor. It was a story of travel, teamwork, challenges, and creativity. From receiving an unexpected message to flying across the world, from dealing with setbacks to achieving a stunning final result, every step played an important role. The experience showed that great results do not come easily. They require planning, effort, and the ability to adapt when things go wrong. It also highlighted the importance of teamwork, as every member contributed to the success of the project. The transformation of the garage was not just physical. It also represented growth and learning for everyone involved. Projects like this leave a lasting impression because they combine hard work with creativity, resulting in something truly special. In the end, the Miami Garage transformation stands as a perfect example of what can be achieved when skill meets determination. It is a reminder that even the most ordinary spaces can be turned into something extraordinary with the right vision and effort. One of the most important parts of this entire garage transformation was teamwork. Without a strong and well-coordinated team, a project of this size would be almost impossible to complete successfully. Every person on the team had a specific role, and each role was equally important. Some members focused on heavy tasks like removing tiles and grinding the floor, while others handled planning, mixing materials, and applying the epoxy. There were also people who managed communication, ensuring that everyone stayed on the same page. This balance of responsibilities made the workflow smooth and efficient. What made the teamwork even more impressive was the fact that the project was happening in a different country. Working in a new environment always brings unexpected challenges, such as different tools, different working conditions, and sometimes even communication barriers. Despite all this, the team managed to stay focused and support each other throughout the process. When problems came up, like the issue with the missing tools, no one blamed each other. Instead, they worked together to find a solution. This kind of mindset is what separates a good team from a great one. Trust and cooperation played a huge role in keeping the project on track. Everyone understood that the final result depended on their combined effort. It was not about individual success, but about achieving a shared goal. By the end of the project, it was clear that teamwork was one of the main reasons behind the successful transformation. The garage was not just built with tools and materials. It was built with collaboration, effort, and mutual respect. The choice of epoxy resin flooring played a huge role in making this project special. Unlike traditional flooring options, epoxy offers a combination of strength, durability, and visual appeal that is hard to match. One of the biggest advantages of epoxy is its ability to handle heavy use. In a garage, floors are exposed to cars, tools, oil spills, and constant movement. A normal floor might wear out quickly under these conditions, but epoxy creates a tough surface that can last for many years without damage. Another important feature is its smooth and seamless finish. Because epoxy is applied as a liquid, it spreads evenly across the surface, filling small gaps and creating a flawless look. This not only improves the appearance, but also makes cleaning much easier. Dust and dirt do not get trapped in cracks, which helps keep the garage looking clean at all times. The design possibilities with epoxy are also endless. As seen in this project, different colors can be mixed to create unique patterns, such as the marble effect used in Mat Armstrong's garage. This allows homeowners to customize their space according to their style and preference. In addition to its practical benefits, epoxy also adds value to a property. A well-designed garage can make a strong impression and increase the overall appeal of a home. For someone like Matt, who uses his garage not just for storage, but also for creating content, having a visually impressive space is very important. This is why epoxy flooring is becoming more popular around the world. It is not just a functional choice. It is also a design statement that can completely transform a space. Working in Miami was a completely different experience compared to working in the UK, and it brought its own set of challenges. One of the most noticeable differences was the weather. Miami's heat and humidity made the working conditions more intense, especially during physically demanding tasks like grinding and removing tiles. While the heat helped the epoxy dry faster, it also made the team tire more quickly. Staying hydrated and managing energy levels became very important. Another challenge was adapting to a new workspace. Every garage is different, and this one had its own unique layout and issues. The presence of partition wall, uneven flooring, and existing tiles meant that the team had to adjust their approach. They could not simply follow the same routine they used in the UK. Instead, they had to think creatively and make decisions based on the situation in front of them. There were also logistical challenges, such as arranging tools and materials in a foreign country. The problem with the tool supplier highlighted how quickly things can go wrong when you are working away from home. However, these challenges also made the project more interesting. They pushed the team to think on their feet and come up with solutions in real time. This kind of experience is valuable because it builds confidence and problem-solving skills. By the end of the project, the team had not only completed the transformation, but also gained new knowledge and experience that would help them in future projects. Working in a new environment is never easy, but it can be very rewarding if handled correctly. Beyond the physical changes, this garage transformation also had a strong emotional impact on everyone involved. For the team, it was a chance to prove their skills on an international stage. Traveling to another country and successfully completing a high-quality project gave them a sense of pride and achievement. Every challenge they faced and overcame added to that feeling. For Mat Armstrong, the transformation meant something even more personal. A garage is not just a place to park cars for someone like him. It is a workspace, a creative studio, and a place where ideas come to life. Having a well-designed and visually appealing garage can make a big difference in how someone feels while working. The new epoxy floor turned the garage into a space that inspires creativity and motivation. The moment of the final reveal captured this emotional impact perfectly. Seeing Matt's genuine reaction showed how much the transformation meant to him. It was not just about the look of the floor, but about how the entire space had been upgraded. Moments like these are what make projects memorable. They remind everyone involved why they do this kind of work. It is not just about completing tasks. It is about creating something meaningful that people can enjoy and appreciate. The emotional side of the project added depth to the overall experience, making it more than just a simple renovation. In the end, this journey from the UK to Miami turned out to be much more than just a work trip. It was a complete experience filled with excitement, challenges, learning, and success. The transformation of the garage stands as a clear example of what can be achieved with the right combination of skill, planning, and determination. Starting from a messy and unfinished space, the team managed to create a modern, stylish, and highly functional garage that met and exceeded expectations. Every stage of the process, from preparation to design to final touches, played an important role in achieving this result. The project also highlighted the importance of staying adaptable and positive, even when things do not go as planned. Challenges are a natural part of any big task, but they can be overcome with the right mindset. For viewers and readers, this story serves as both inspiration and education. It shows that with effort and teamwork, even the most ordinary spaces can be transformed into something extraordinary. The Miami Garage is not just a finished project. It is a symbol of creativity, hard work, and passion. It leaves a lasting impression, not only because of how it looks, but because of the journey behind it. While the final result of the garage looks clean, smooth, and almost perfect, most people do not realize how much effort goes on behind the scenes to achieve that level of quality. A project like this is not just about the visible steps shown in the video. It also includes many small tasks that are not always highlighted but are extremely important. For example, preparing tools, mixing materials correctly, cleaning surfaces again and again, and checking every detail takes a lot of time and patience. Even something as simple as measuring the floor properly can make a big difference in the final outcome. If the measurements are slightly off, it can lead to wasted materials or uneven application. The team also had to constantly monitor the condition of the epoxy while working. Since epoxy starts to harden after being mixed, there is very little room for mistakes. Every move has to be quick but controlled. In addition, safety is another factor that is often overlooked. Working with heavy tools, chemicals, and machinery requires proper care. The team had to wear